morning. Now, I'm going to share to you the second week, okay, of the um, second week of creative writing. So, on your screen, boys and girls, you can see that we have here our 5 sentences. Okay, so meron tayong lahat po nito. Okay, these 5 senses are your sense of sight, your sense of hearing, your sense of taste, your sense of touch, and your sense of smell. Okay? These are what we call sensory. Okay? Sensory details in writing. That is our discussion for this morning. Okay? So, sight is for seeing, ears for hearing, and our tongue is for tasting, touch, your hands is for touching, and of course your nose is for your smelling. Okay, now how are these senses will be applicable in writing or in creative writing? Okay, let us define the sensory details in writing. The sensory details includes sight, sound, touch, smell, and taste. Okay? Writers employ the 5 senses to engage a reader's interest if you want your writing to jump off the page. Then bring your reader to the world you are creating. When describing a past event, try and remember what you saw, heard, touched, smelled, and tasted, then incorporate in your writing. Okay. So you're going to include when you are doing a creative writing, you are going to include, okay, you are going to include these sentences. Okay, these senses. Okay. So I know most of you, maybe most of you are you are a wide reader. Maybe you're a reader of a Wattpad, or maybe you're a reader of different stories, as you are reading on the book or the story, may mga parts po ng story na yon that the reader or I mean the writer is describing what he smells. The fresh air, I open the window and I smell the fresh air coming in, and 'di ba? May mga ganong part. So yung mga reader, okay, makukuha mo yung attention nila, and that is what creative writing is. Okay? And if when you are doing the sensory details, you're imagine, syempre, kailangan tama yung paggamit mo. You're able to apply these senses correctly. Okay? Now, another is that this is the ability ability to create a gripping and memorable story has much as to do with engaging your 5 senses. Okay, your senses. Okay, engaging. Okay, you are going to apply how are your senses, how we are going to use our senses. Paano ba siya nagagamit? Baka mamaya kabalik-baliktad yung gamit mo ng yung mga senses po na yan, yung kanilang mga uses. How are we going to use them? So, most likely, boys and girls, in creative writing, the imagination of the writer is very wide. Okay, kailangan malawak. As you see on the definition itself, to bring your reader in the world you are creating. Okay, that is how the writer is having a wide imagination that the reader could relate on. Okay. Tips. What are the tips you're going to use? Okay. Tips on using your sensory details in your writing. Of course, okay, if you're going to touch, if you're going to smell, if you're going to taste any food, it's easy when you're holding it. Tama po ba? Mas madali mo siyang maaamoy kung hawak mo siya. Mas madali mong malalasahan kung natitikman mo siya. Mas madali mong masasabi kung rough or smooth ang any object if you're holding it. But what if you're reading it? Okay, this is the tips on how you are going to use your sensory details in writing. Number 1 is to identify the things to describe. Keep it simple. It's difficult to describe something that is diffuse or abstract. If possible, name the thing you want to describe. Okay? Kung napakarami mong i-describe dun sa isang bagay na yun, it is now napaka-vague, magiging vague, malabo yun sa mga reader mo. So you have to think very wisely ano yung i-describe mo. And remember the word to keep it simple. Okay? Because it's difficult to describe the things that are too abstract. Hindi naman alam, or most likely, sabi ko nga po sa inyo, ang kinikater po ng creative writing is the mass. Okay? Ang nakakarami. Okay? So, kailangan iisipin mo kung ano yung mga i-describe mo na mas madaling makaka-adapt at mas, familiar. Okay? Familiar to your readers. Okay? And, if it's possible, name the thing you want to describe. Sabihin mo na. Okay? Ako, or sabihin natin in Tagalog na, halimbawa, mayroong kang your story begins in the morning. Habang ako ay humihigop ng aking mainit na kape. Yan, So, meron ka na dong, alam na ng masa yung humihigop ka ng isang mainit na kape at ikaw at ako ay nakaupo dito sa aking bintana habang pinapanood ang mga taong dumadaan. Okay, so nai-imagine na ng mga tao, ang dali lang. Simple lang. Okay, it's simple. Okay, to understand. Okay, so one of the things that you should remember about creative writing, it should not be vague. No? Malinaw dapat siya at madali siyang maintindihan ng readers. Okay. Next, state what. Okay, kung paputol-putol po si ma'am ha. Nag-i-internet unstable si ma'am. Sorry. Okay. State what the thing does. Something it's not necessary to compare, to smell, or taste to something else. A clear statement of what the thing does. Cooking in its own grease. Okay, can clearly evoke the thing, and sometimes it can suggest sensory details. So explain in close detail what the thing does, when and where do you find it, how do you know it's there, what it is doing, and how do people react. Okay, so these are the things you have to take note of. Again, boys and girls, when you're going to apply your sensory details here. So, explain the details of that thing. Para saan ang gamit niya, kailan at saan mo siya nakita. Okay? Paano mo nalaman na nandoon yung bagay na yon, at ano ang kanyang bakit nandoon, at anong reaksyon ng mga tao na nakakita doon sa bagay na yon. Kung halimbawa sabihin natin ng isang example po yan, yung mga bagay, ikinukwento mo sa iyong creative writing, lalo ngayon ay magpapasko na. Okay, sa panahon na ito, pwedeng ganun yung sasabihin isang example, in this moment of pandemic days, it is really it's really exciting to go on a place that will give you a sense of feeling ng happiness. I went to the Pitan Arcade and I saw this Santa Claus. It's soft, mga ganun po. So, ini-imagine na ng mga tao, okay, Dapitan Arcade, alam na nila yon. Para sa ano yung meron doon sa Dapitan Arcade, sasabihin mo na. Ano yung makikitang things mo doon? Okay. So, nai-imagine mo yun until the story will unfold there. Next, describe the thing with a few senses. Perhaps you can use more or even all. If so, it's great. Okay. Hindi naman ibig sabihin, boys and girls, that they're going to use the 5 sentences. No? Hindi naman ibig sabihin po no na lahat yon pwede mong gamitin. If you're going to use that, very good. But, sabi nga natin on the first tip is that make it simple, not too many. Kung marami kang masyado kung dinedescribe at kailangan ginagamit na pang describe, malilito yung iyong reader. Okay? One factor na meron po ang creative writing, boys and girls, in comparing in technical writing, creative writing po is straightforward straightforward is technical writing, yes. But in creative writing, hindi naman siya masyadong maraming details, but you have to be straight because sabi ko nga po, your catering here is a mass. A big crowd of people. Okay, so imagine niyo, boys and girls, yung mga, alam ko, maybe the girls here, mas involved, mas gusto niyo yung nanonood kayo ng mga telenovelas, ano? So, kung ini-imagine nyo yung, kung nakikita nyo yung tinatakbo ng story, ayan, parang alam ko na yung susunod. Okay, parang magkakagusto na si Bida, yung girl na Bida doon sa kanyang partner there. Or kaya naman, itong antagonist na to, ibig sabihin po kontrabida, is hindi to papayag, ganon. So nakikita na natin, na-visualize na nating mga nanonood nun. Okay? So, now if you're going to apply, okay, ilalagay mo yung mga senses doon. Sabi nga, you have to make it simple para mag-gets agad yung ibig mong sabihin. Okay? Number 4 is to connect the senses to the story. Kung wala naman po siyang connection, okay, at hindi mo siya ma-connect ng maayos at makakalito lang sa iyong mga mambabasa, okay, dapat isipin pong mabuti. You should consider to remember the sensory details. Okay, kung paano siya nagagamit. Okay, connect the sense to story. How does it affect your behavior? As you consider this, remember the sensory details. Okay, this is the example of what I'm talking about. The smell of the bacon make it difficult for Hyder to hide the fact that he'd eaten it. How does one of the sensory details you wrote make the things difficult to ignore? Okay. How does one of the sensory details you wrote make the thing difficult to ignore? As you can see here, connect the sense to the story. The smell of the bacon make it difficult for Hyder to hide the fact that he'd eaten it. Diba? Magigets pa agad ng reader yung ibig niyang sabihin dun sa sentence po na yon. Okay, akala, no? So you have to make it simple para magets agad ng iyong mga reader. Now, we have here the sight. Okay? Flash of the light in the night. Okay? Deep blue ocean. This is for the sight po, examples of the word. Example of the sentences for the sense of sight. The flash of lights in the night sky. Deep blue of the ocean. The roads had begun to glisten underneath the headlights. The sun was setting behind low, gray-blue storm clouds, a heavily hue to the layers of ice and snow accumulating the rooftops and tree limbs. Her shadow shaky behind a slight flame steaming from the candle she carried. Sparks lit up dusk of day, a blinking red light from the truck's turn signal illuminated our darkened home. So these sentences are examples of the word for the sense of sight. How about naman for sounds, for hearing? The wall shook and vibrated like the tail of the rattlesnake. Ice crackled and pinged against the family room of the window. Okay, boys and girls, also in creative writing, marami po siyang, it most likely to use simile and metaphor. Okay, figure of speeches po yun. Okay, ma'am, narinig ko na yun. Opo, tama po kayo, you heard it right. Those are po the yung simile and metaphor, figure of speech. Okay, so gumagamit po nun sa creative writing. Ice crackled and ring against the family room window. Winds swirled around our beach house, whistling loudly to a trembled tune. The television buzzed as it shut off, and the furnace sighed and one last time before the house fell silent. The cracking of wood splitting punctuated each burst of fire like an exclamation point. The sound of emergency sirens awakened the still roads. The howling wind and branches creaking under the weight of ice. Okay, so that is for sounds. Now, this is for the smell. Sweet aroma of baking cornbread, cinnamon-scented candle, pungent odor of the smoke, salty air, beach air, rotting leaves, and crispiness of air. Okay, this is for the smell. Okay, everybody could adopt that. Everybody could knows that. And then this is for the touch. We sat still, huddled underneath the quilt. Car tires grip and the ice with fearful intensity. The powerful lines, heavy from the thickness of ice, had snapped. Soft tufts of fur stick on my toes in the warm and grainy sand. Okay, that is for touch. Okay, this naman for taste. Ice cold strawberries, tall frosted glass of sweet yet bitter lemonade, salty chips, juicy tartness of orange, rancid butter. Okay,